Nobody expects to die on a Tuesday. You're driving home, late, tired, radio low, you get out to argue, and that's the last decision you ever make. That's how 20 people died in Korea. Same deserted road, same deliberate rear end, same predator with the face of a completely ordinary man. He was the most feared man in the Korean underworld, and this killer had no idea what he just started. He doesn't look like a monster. That's what makes him terrifying. The man Korea would call one of its most prolific serial killers drives through the night, face blank, eyes forward. He picks targets deliberately, isolated roads, lone drivers, no witnesses. He taps their bumper hard enough to force a confrontation. When they climb out, he ends it. 20 murders, same method, every time. Detective Kim knows after the third crime scene, but his superiors won't hear it. There are no serial killers in Korea, they say, yanking him off the case. Organizations reject uncomfortable truths, not because the evidence is weak, but because acknowledging them threatens the whole system. Kim wasn't wrong. He was inconvenient. And in that gap between truth and bureaucracy, the killer keeps operating untouched. Here's what makes this case different from every serial killer story. He washes his hands, makes instant noodles, sits in front of the television with the volume at a reasonable level. The thing the system keeps missing is that monsters don't look like monsters between kills. He isn't hiding, he's just ordinary. And ordinary is the best cover there is. Across town, a completely different kind of power runs the city's dark side. Jong Dong-soo doesn't need a business card. He is the underworld. His organization controls territories, cash, and men who do anything without question. Every morning he trains, not on equipment but on a person, a betrayer repurposed as a punching bag until the debt is settled. Cross Dong-soo, and your life becomes a lesson for everyone else. At a territory negotiation, a rival gang leader disrespects one of Dong-soo's men, throws water in his face, laughs like it cost nothing. Dong-soo stands up. He punches his own man first for speaking out of turn, then walks to the rival's associate and pulls out the man's tooth with his bare hands. The rival leader picks up the glass, tooth sitting in it, and drinks it. The room goes silent, agreement signed, meeting adjourned. That night, Dong-soo drives home alone. No bodyguards, no entourage. He doesn't believe he needs protection. That belief nearly kills him. On a quiet stretch of road, familiar headlights fill his mirror. Dong-soo steps out calm, ready to let it go. Minor hit, not worth his time. Then, the killer pulls a knife and lunges. What follows isn't a mugging, it's a war. For the first time, this predator meets someone who doesn't go down. Dong-soo takes hits, delivers worse, and drives a wound into the killer's chest before the man bolts. Dong-soo survives, barely. His crew tears through the city assuming a rival ordered the hit. Wrong men catch the consequences. Across town, the killer stitches his own wounds, then kills an old man who had the misfortune of walking past. When Detective Kim hears an underworld don got stabbed on a deserted road, he goes straight to the hospital. Dong-soo looks at him like he arrived from another planet. Nothing, no statement, but Kim notices the car damage, the pattern, the method. He knows this isn't a gang hit, this is the same man. Dong-soo reaches the same conclusion independently. The killer didn't just wound him, he embarrassed him. In the underworld, that debt never expires. Kim proposes an alliance. 3 years since the first case file landed on his desk. This case followed him everywhere he went. His own weight, invisible to everyone else. He doesn't need the alliance because he's stuck. He needs it because the official channels have failed so completely that a hospital room with a crime boss in it is now the most honest investigative environment he has access to. Dong-soo sets one condition: whoever finds the killer first deals with him personally. Kim says yes. A cop and a crime boss hunting a serial killer, each for completely different reasons. Before the hunt gets moving, Dong-soo makes a move nobody sees coming. He uses the killer's dropped knife, recovered by his men, to assassinate the rival gang leader who's been talking reckless since the attack. Frame the serial killer. eliminate the competition. The police find the weapon, and the city's media turns toward one suspect. The killer watches himself get blamed on a restaurant TV. Fury crosses his face for the first time. He sits in that restaurant for a long time after the broadcast ends. For years, he has been a ghost, invisible, untraceable. The system couldn't name him because the system didn't believe he existed. That anonymity wasn't just protection, it was identity. Now his name, or something close to it, is attached to a crime he didn't commit. His method, appropriated. His knife, used by someone else's hand. He quietly delivers a letter to the dead gang's men. Dong-Soo killed your boss with my knife. War erupts between both organizations, triggering street battles on multiple fronts. Meanwhile, the killer goes back out. More victims, more empty roads. Dong-Soo isn't just hunting the killer out of revenge, he's using the entire situation to clean up his own backyard at the same time. The line between vigilante justice and ruthless self-interest gets very blurry when the guy doing it is this compelling. The city is burning. The killer is still free. Kim goes back to the original case files, every crime scene, every road, every victim. He's looking for the thread that connects them. Witness descriptions are thin, dark vehicle, medium build, nothing face. But Kim cross-references 3 separate reports and finds one detail that matches in all of them. Dong-Soo works the street version of the same problem. He puts the word out through every contact, every territory, every man who owes him anything. Not looking for a killer, someone quiet, someone without a crew, someone who doesn't belong to anyone. 3 days later, a name surfaces from a parking attendant who saw the vehicle near 2 of the dump sites. Kim runs it through the database. Dong-Soo's man pulls the address in under an hour. They both know who they're looking for now. The question is, who gets to him first? Dong-Soo is on a street corner in a downpour when he spots a college girl getting completely soaked, no umbrella, going nowhere. She looks at this massive, scarred man and says with total calm, "You look more like a bodyguard than a gangster." Dong-Soo actually laughs, the kind you don't expect from someone who just pulled a man's tooth out with his fingers. She boards her bus. He watches her go. That night, Dong-Soo and Kim sit with their crews. Food, drinks, real conversation. Kim's team forgets they're cops. Dong-Soo's men forget they're criminals. Then breaking news cuts through. The girl from the rain, found stabbed more than 10 times. Dong-Soo doesn't yell, doesn't break anything. Completely still, the kind of stillness far scarier than rage. Dong-Soo deploys every man he has. 60,000 rental properties swept, thousands of locations checked. Kim works parallel. The city gets turned inside out. The killer clocks he's being tracked. A chase erupts. Multiple vehicles, full speed, no mercy. 3 cars collide. He slips through the gap. Then he kills one of Dong-Soo's men directly in front of him. The dying man lifts his hand and points. Dong-Soo follows the blood trail alone. He tracks the killer to a bar, finds him inside with a terrified woman, backs to the wall. He breaks the door down. What follows isn't a fight, it's a reckoning. Every punch lands. The killer, who has never once lost, hits the floor and stays there, bleeding, broken, beaten. He still tries to smile. Kim arrives just in time to stop Dong-Soo from finishing it. He cuffs the killer. By the book. No witnesses that hold up in court. The knife alone is circumstantial. The killer sits in the courtroom calm, blank-faced, denying everything with the same expression he wears picking a victim. The law cannot touch him. Kim watches a man who killed more than 20 people sit there untouchable because the system he built his life around isn't equipped for something this dirty. Kim organized his entire identity around the belief that the law works. Watching it fail doesn't just frustrate him, it shakes him at the foundation. Kim doesn't break, but you can see the cracks. Dong-Soo sits outside the courtroom after the verdict collapses. He isn't thinking about the killer. He's thinking about the girl in the rain. She wasn't connected to him. She had no idea who he was when she looked at this scarred man. He couldn't protect her, not the right way. not in time. And now he's watching the system that was supposed to do that job sit in a courtroom and shrug. Nobody expected Dong-soo to walk into that courtroom. He places everything in front of the judge. The chest wound he inflicted, medically verifiable, consistent with the documented attack. The killer's letter to the dead gang's crew, handwriting confirmed as a match. Every thread laid out with the composure of a man who has spent his life making decisions no one else would. The defense has nothing. Verdict, death. Dong-soo doesn't leave clean. He submitted knowing the full cost, his operation, his record, everything now on paper. He goes to prison without flinching. The inmates treat him like royalty from the moment he walks through the gates. The killer, placed nearby, hears who just arrived. Kim put them in the exact same facility on purpose. The film ends without showing what happens in that cell. It doesn't need to. Everything that follows, the sounds, the fear, what Dong-soo is capable of, lives in your head now. This movie isn't about catching a killer. It's about what happens when the institutions built to protect people fail so completely that the only justice left comes from someone operating entirely outside the law. We don't just recap movies here, we find what movies say about us. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.